Impossible Journey. After the crew of the James Caird landed, they spent a few days recovering. Soon they decided to move their camp deeper into the bay where it was more protected and where Shackleton hoped to gain access to the interior of the island. Once at their new location on the bay, they were able to drag their boat ashore, build a short rock wall, and overturn the boat with one side resting on the wall.
Whoa! There! Excellent.
We now have a new camp, boss.
That we do, Skipper.
It's beautiful, it is.
Tommy Crean, you're a good man to say so.
Well, it's not much as shelters go, but I agree. It's the best we can do for the moment.
Chippy, if it can be made more snug, you are the man to see it through. But for now, let's tuck it round with turf from the dead tussock grass along the fringe of the shore.
I have my knife all ready for the job.
Excellent, Tim.
Let's have at it, boys, and dig up the sod. There. What do you think, boss?
It looks wonderful. I hereby dub this camp Camp Peggotty.
Just like the boat hut in Dickens' David Copperfield. Great name, boss.
Bad weather drove the crew under the protection of their new hut for the next 3 days, where they rested and no doubt discussed the impossible journey that lay ahead.
It's not going to be easy, but it's our only hope of reaching help in time.
True. Winter is fast approaching, and conditions will only get worse.
Indeed, Skipper. We can only hope that there's a break in the weather that will hold long enough to give us a fighting chance.
Well, I can pull some wood from the covering over the cairn and build a sledge for you to haul your provisions.
A sledge would be good, Chippy. I'll take 2 of you with me. You, Skipper, so that you can navigate for us.
What about me, boss? Can I go with you?
Tim, I'm going to need you to stay here. Bosun Jack and Chippy are both ailing and they can't manage on their own.
Aye, boss. I'll do my best.
I know you will, Tim. And Chippy?
Yes, boss.
Well, I'm going to have a problem with my boots.
Huh?
I gave my good ones away to one of the boys back on Elephant Island, and these are so thin and slick on the bottom.
Well, I have the very thing for it. I'll take some screws from the cairn and fasten them in the soles for crampons. That way you won't slide so much when you're climbing.
Excellent idea. Now, Bosun Jack.
Aye, boss.
You try your best to rest. I know the crossing was hard on you, but you're too strong a man to give up. You understand?
I understand.
Tom, I'll need to have you along with the crossing party. You're tough. You know, sometimes I think you're nearly indestructible.
I'll give it me best. You know I will. Tom Crean never gives up.
So, now we hope for a break in the weather. If we can leave early, hopefully by the light of the moon, we can get a good start. Skipper, how far overland do you estimate it is between us here at King Haakon Bay and the whaling station at Stromness Bay?
As the crow flies, 29 miles, give or take. But, boss, who knows? I mean...
I know. Who knows how far it will actually be as we try to make our way across. But remember this, all of you, we cannot fail. We must not fail. Too many lives are hanging in the balance.
During the next few days, Chippy built a small sledge from wood scraps and driftwood, but it proved to be too clumsy for the difficult climb that lay ahead.
We'll each have to carry our own supplies, boys. Pack 3 days sledging rations for yourself and biscuits in a sock. We'll take the Primus stove and enough fuel for 6 meals, along with a cooking pot, and we'll need to take the compasses. All our rope, binoculars, and, let's see. Oh, yes, matches. Plus Chippy's carpenter adze. It's the only thing we can use as an ice axe.
Finally, at 2 a.m. on May 19th, 1916, the skies cleared, the moon came out, and Shackleton knew it was time. 1 hour later, after a breakfast of hoosh, the 3 men, Shackleton, the skipper, and Tom Crean, were on their way. Chippy accompanied the men for the first 200 yards or so. Then, overcome by exhaustion, he turned back, while the others began to climb the slope up to the pass in the mountain ridge above them. As they ascended, they could get a better look at what lay ahead.
Look at that, boss.
Yes, I see, Skipper. It's an amazing sight. No wonder the interior of the island has never been crossed. It's a chaotic jumble of high peaks, impassable cliffs,
And steep glaciers and huge fissures.
So I see, Tom.
It's going to be harder than I thought it might be. The surface is softened and we're sinking into the snow with every step we take.
We'll just have to give it our best. Let's climb onto the path and have a look. Maybe we can find our way clear in the moonlight. Now look sharp. We can't afford a mishap.
At least the crevasses look like dark stripes in the moonlight. Otherwise...
Don't even think of otherwise, Tom. Let's go. Well, this is very disappointing.
What? The view? Well, the fog is starting to wrap around us.
Both. I was hoping we could see a way through once we were up here, but there is no view. The moonlight is illuminating the fog, and it even destroys our sense of direction.
How are we going to keep in a straight line and not end up wandering in circles?
Well, here. Each of you grab a section of rope and we'll tie ourselves together. I'll take the lead. There. I have it tied around my waist. Now, let's play it out. There. Now, you next, Tom. Tie it around yourself.
Right, boss!
Now here, Skipper.
All right.
You bring up the rear. By being this far apart, you can help me direct my steps in a straight line. Just call out port or starboard if I need to go left or right.
Carefully, the men continued to advance through the fog, and when dawn broke several hours later, the fog started to lift. In the distance, they could see what appeared to be a frozen lake far below them, a level surface over which they might make excellent time. They decided to descend toward that easier route, but after about an hour...
The fog keeps thinning out, boss.
Yes. It was a bit treacherous up there, but now...
Look at that! The lake looks even bigger than before.
The fog is rolling back across the surface.
Yes, so I see.
What's the matter, boss?
Look there, do you see that? The lake keeps extending as far as the fog rolls back. Boys, it's not a lake at all, it's Possession Bay. Oh.
What?
You're right. We've been fooled by the fog.
Possession Bay leads right back out to sea on the north side of the island.
Well, boys, it's back up to the ridge with us.
It took 2 hours to regain their former height, and at this point they set up the Primus stove to quickly prepare a breakfast of hoosh. Soon they were on their way again. Already they could see how their muscles, unaccustomed to hiking, were in a weakened state. Shackleton allowed them 1 minute's rest for every 15 minutes of climbing or hiking, at which point they would all sprawl spread eagle onto the snow. After more laborious climbing, they were nearly to the top of the ridge, the last distance of which was gained only by Shackleton cutting steps in the surface with Chippy's adze. As lead man, he looked over the top to a most discouraging view.
It's no use, boys. There's no way down from here. It's too steep. We'll have to try farther down the ridge. But first we'll have to backtrack down and around that huge outcropping.
After a quick lunch and then a very steep, exhausting climb, they came to the second pass.
It's no good. Still no way down. We'll just have to keep working our way along.
And so it went. After backtracking again and then ascending an even steeper slope, the most exhausting climb of all, they reached the third pass at 4 in the afternoon. The sun was beginning to set, and they could feel the evening chill setting in upon them.
We've been climbing up and down all afternoon, boss. And we're getting no closer now to getting down and on our way than we were at noon.
I know, Skipper.
By my reckoning, we've been at for 13 hours now. I guess my sea legs aren't all that good on land.
Or mine.
Or mine.
But we can't give up, boss.
No, we absolutely will not give up. There's one more pass to our left. Let's give it a try, boys.
After descending again and skirting a huge crevasse, they mounted the ridge at the fourth pass, a slope so steep on either side that once they were on top, they stood with 1 foot on either side of the knife-like crest.
I don't like this at all, boys. We're probably 5,000 feet up, and the mountain is almost a sheer drop until it levels out a bit below. It would be a dangerous climb down, and the fog is starting to creep up towards us. If it reaches us, we won't be able to move 1 inch in safety.
And it's already starting to get dark.
It's getting cold. Fast.
So we can't stay here. We just have to take the risk and make our way down the far side of the mountain. Are you game?
Down they went, inching their way along with Shackleton having to cut each foothold in their descent. It was a slow business that saw them only about 300 feet down after a full half-hour's labor.
Oh, boys, let's hold up for a moment. Come on down. I've carved out a platform for the 3 of us.
Oh, it's pretty slow going, isn't it? Boss?
Yes, you'll never make it down in time this way. And with no sleeping bags, we'll never survive at this elevation. So, there's only one thing to do.
You have a plan?
Yes, in fact I do. We'll slide.
Slide?
You don't mean slide down the mountain? You're joking.
No, I'm not joking. We'll slide down the mountain. Quickly, each of you grab your section of rope and coil it round and round and make a mat. We'll each sit on our section of rope mat and shove off.
Can you see down far enough to know where we'll land?
No, I'm afraid not. It's already too dark and misty.
But what if we hit a rock?
We could slide right off a cliff.
We have no choice, do we? Can we stay where we are?
Well,
can we?
I guess we can't, boss.
Exactly. We can't go back up, and we can't stay here. So we're going down, and we better do it quickly. Okay. Now, Skipper, lock your legs around my waist. And Tom, you hitch up to the skipper in the same way.
Ready, boss?
All right, then. Shove.
Oh, my, Aunt Carol, what a risk they were forced to take. I love sledding, but that was extreme. I hope they had a soft landing.
We'll find out in a moment, but till then, perhaps you'd be willing to take a little sledding challenge yourself?
Well, there's no snow here in the studio, so just what do you have in mind?
You won't need any snow or even a sled, Uncle Dan.
Oh.
All you need to do is repeat what's written on this card 3 times as fast as you can.
Ah, it's a tongue twister challenge.
Right.
Okay, here goes. Several sledders slid on sloppy ski slopes. Several sledders slid on sloppy ski slopes. Several sledders slid on sloppy ski slopes. Aunt Carol, that's tough.
You did very well, Uncle Dan. Congratulations.
It was fun. But I hope Shackleton, the skipper, and Crean were more successful with their sledding challenge than I. Speaking of which, let's return to your story and find out what happens next in The Impossible Journey.
All right, then. Shove.
The 3 men screamed like schoolboys with terror and delight all the way down to the area below where the angle of the slope leveled out. In about 3 minutes, they had descended at least 1,500 feet and had escaped the dangers of being trapped above for the night. They landed in a jumbled mass, laughing in relief and very happy to be alive. Looking back, I above to the ridge from which they had just come, they saw the fingers of the fog curling over the top and knew they had narrowly missed disaster. Picking themselves up, they hiked for about a half hour and then stopped to light the stove for supper.
What time is it, Skipper?
It's about 6, I think. Let me check. Yes, 6 it is.
How are you men holding up?
Well, boss, other than being completely exhausted, I'm fine.
And I have to tell you, that slide was something, eh? Wasn't it? It seems that we shot off into empty space at first.
It was quite a ride, all right. A little something to wake us all up. And a good thing, too, since we'll be hiking all night long.
Biscuits and sledging rations are ready, men. Let's eat up.
When they resumed, it was nearly pitch black, and only extreme caution prevented them from tumbling into hidden crevasses along the way. But soon the moon rose and illuminated their path. On and on they went, tramping wearily up and down, up and down. They stopped for another brief meal about 1 in the morning, and then started out again, this time downward toward what appeared to be their goal at Stromness Bay. Excitedly, they began to point out landmarks they thought they recognized, and then, suddenly...
Boss, watch out. It's a crevasse.
Right, I see it. But wait. There should be no crevasses on the slope towards Stromness Bay. What? There's no glacier above the whaling station. Boys. We're so tired our eyes are playing tricks on us.
And it was true. They were not where they thought they were. The skipper pulled out his charts and determined that the bay before them was actually Fortuna Bay on the northern side of the island, but to the west of Stromness Bay. It was a devastating discovery and meant they would once again have to retrace their steps. By 5 in the morning, they had regained considerable altitude, and before passing over another ridge that now blocked their way, they sat down for a quick rest.
I'm so tired. That makes 2 of us, Skipper.
We'll rest for a little while, boys.
The skipper and Tom Crean fell to sleep instantly. So exhausted were they from 26 hours of arduous climbing and hiking. Shackleton caught himself nodding off as well, then realized the results would be fatal. The sleep of exhaustion would allow the cold to numb them into a final sleep from which they would never recover. He shook himself awake, let his companions sleep for 5 minutes, and then roused them to continue their journey. Dawn saw them through the pass at the top of the ridge where, as Crean began to prepare breakfast, Shackleton scouted their route ahead. Suddenly, he thought he heard a familiar sound, the 6:30 whistle at the whaling station, the whistle that would awaken workers to the day. Hurrying back to tell the others, Shackleton announced that if he was correct, another whistle would sound at 7 o'clock sharp. They all waited with great anticipation.
What time is it now, Skipper?
Almost time. Wait. You were right! I hear the sweet sound of civilization.
The first we've heard in 17 months.
Although the whaling station still lay almost 10 miles away, they were much encouraged. After breakfast, they started off again, only to encounter a steep precipice which took 3 hours to descend by Shackleton cutting or kicking every foothold. After that, only one more ridge blocked their passage. By 1:30, they stood atop its crest and looked down upon the tiny figures of people moving around the docks 2,500 feet below. Searching for a safe way down, they finally came upon a small ravine, only to discover that it ended in a steep waterfall. At this point, there was no way around without retracing their steps, and their total exhaustion would not permit it. Through the icy waterfall it would be.
You first, Tom. The skipper and I will lower you through. Down you go!
He's completely disappeared in the waterfall, boss.
I know. Just keep lowering the rope. There. Steady. Careful. Ah! I see him. He made it. Are you all right?
Soon the other two men made it through the waterfall, and although wet to the bone, they now hurried down that last remaining mile to the whaling station. The skipper, in an attempt to preserve modesty, produced a few rusty safety pins from his underwear and tried to repair the seat of his pants, which had been severely ripped. But even so, the men presented quite a sight. They had not washed or changed clothes for 10 months. Their matted hair hung nearly to their shoulders. Their scraggly beards were tangled with blubber and salt. All in all, they were a frightening spectacle. The first to spot them were two young boys who ran screaming from them in terror. Then the station foreman, who was on the wharf, spotted them and approached.
Oh, you? From where did you? Forgive me. Matthias Anderson, I am.
Yes. Could you please take us to Captain Anton Anderson? He's the winter manager at Grytviken, I believe.
No longer here he is. To the new manager I will take you. Torov Sorol.
Oh, wonderful. I know him well. Yes, what is it?
These men, for you they are asking, Mr. Sorrow.
And just who are you? Don't you know me? My name is Shackleton.
Shackleton? Shackleton? I can't. Shackleton! Oh, come in. Come in. Oh, Sir Ernest, come in.
Yes, they had done it. They had actually done it. It had taken them 36 hours of non-stop effort, but here they were at the Grytviken whaling station. Not only had Shackleton and his small crew survived the incredible voyage across the Drake Straits in their tiny boat, he and two others had now crossed the uncrossable South Georgia Island. That night, all three men were treated practically as royal guests.
Hot baths we are preparing for you, my friends, and food. All you can eat your fill cakes, puddings, anything, everything you want. And we must hear your story. Oh, well, not this minute, of course. Rest you need, clean clothes you will get. Oh, my friends, you are alive. We had given up hope of ever seeing you again.
That night, after bathing, shaving, eating, and enjoying all of the comforts of civilization, Shackleton and Crean retired to bed so comfortable that they couldn't sleep. Outside, they could hear a wicked storm beginning to bear down upon the whaling station and realize that they had made it to safety just in time. If the storm had hit during their march, they knew they never would have survived. The skipper boarded the Samson, a sturdy vessel manned by whalers, and slept there in a warm bunk as the ship made its way around the island to rescue Chippy, Bosun Jack, and Tim McCarthy. When the boat arrived at Camp Peggotty...
Ahoy there! Anybody home? Are you there?
Oh, look, men, we're saved. Ahoy, we're here.
We've come to get you.
Oh, it must be that Shackleton and the boys succeeded. But I'm sorely disappointed that none of my mates returned for our rescue. They've left that to you Norwegians.
Chippy, don't you recognize me?
Well, who...
It's me, Chippy, the skipper.
Nay. Wow, Skipper, is it really you?
Chippy could hardly be blamed for not knowing the skipper at first sight. He'd not seen him clean and shaved for nearly a year. And none of the three men who had recently left Camp Peggotty on their attempt to cross the island looked anything like the man who stood before him now. Anyway, within hours, all of the Shackleton party, All who had bravely sailed away from Elephant Island were reunited at Grytviken to receive sincere honor from the whalers, those who knew best what an incredible sight lay before their eyes. Here were 6 men who had survived the impossible, and to the whalers, no men on earth deserved their reverence or their congratulations more than these 6 men who stood before them now.
Oh, and Carol, it's exciting to imagine what that night must have been like.
Yes, I'm sure that Shackleton and his crew couldn't have had a warmer reception than the one they enjoyed that night. But you know,
Yes?
well, there would be no true happiness for Shackleton until all of his crew were safe, and 22 men were still awaiting rescue on Elephant Island.
That's right. That's why we're hoping none of you listeners miss our next program, when you'll hear the last chapter of this series.
We know it's frustrating to be into a series like this one about Shackleton and miss an episode, especially the last one, but there is a solution if you do miss out.
Just visit our website at yourstoryhour.org. Click on products and find the story you missed. Stories are ready for downloading or available in CD albums. That's at yourstoryhour.org.
While you're there, boys and girls, click on the Kids Corner icon and see all the fun things we have for you to enjoy.
Moms and dads, click on the latest news icon to learn what's happening through Your Story Hour's outreach in your neck of the woods and around the world.
Well, it's time for us to say goodbye till we meet again.
Till then, stay warm and safe.
Goodbye, everyone.
This has been Your Story Hour, building for a better tomorrow.
This is Aunt Carol.
And Uncle Dan saying,
Goodbye, everyone. See you again next time.